Again, Madam Deputy President, I welcome the opportunity to briefly contribute to the debate on the tabling of the Portfolio Committee number 7 report into the planning system and the impacts of climate change on the environment and communities. The report made a series of important recommendations, 18 in total. The government has responded to the recommendations dated February 2025. Only 2 of the recommendations were not supported by the government. The remainder have either been supported with action already underway to accommodate the spirit of the recommendations, or they have been noted. This is a good outcome for the committee report. A couple of recommendations were focused on historic legacy consents, otherwise popularly described as zombie development applications. This is a significant issue across New South Wales, particularly along coastal areas. Recommendation 3 of the report is contentious, indicating, and I quote, that the New South Wales Government consider amending the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979 to make the powers to consent authorities to modify or revoke development consents in the public interest, and if a consent authority exercises the power to revoke a development consent, that no compensation is to be paid by the consent authority to the aggrieved person. While the government's response has noted the recommendation on this issue, it should be acknowledged that the Minister for Planning and Public Spaces requested that the Legislative Assembly Standing Committee on Environment and Planning conduct a public inquiry into historical development consents in New South Wales. This inquiry is examining possible policy and legal options to address historical development consents and is scheduled to report in 2025. The New South Wales Government will further consider this recommendation in the context of the findings and recommendation in the report by the Legislative Assembly Standing Committee on Environment and Planning once published this year. The committee and the House will look forward to the findings and recommendations of the Legislative Assembly Committee on how to address the complexity of historic legacy consents across the state. The government has a series of initiatives underway to address, adapt and mitigate the impacts of climate change on our environment. I won't take the opportunity to expand on each of the government's initiatives today, but I do note for the Hansard that as the government's response outlined, that is the New South Wales Climate Change Adaptation Action Plan 2025 to 2029, was prepared to help New South Wales move towards achieving the Parliament's shared legislated adaptation objective under the Climate Change Net Zero Future Act 2023, and to ensure that New South Wales is more resilient to a changing climate. The plan includes actions to review the New South Wales land use planning framework and ensure climate resilience is embedded in the decision-making process for local authorities and assessment officers, including reviewing the land use planning requirements to better embed climate change risk and adaptation considerations in relation to urban heat, flooding, bushfire and coastal hazards. The New South Wales Reconstruction Authority is developing the next State Disaster Mitigation Plan, that is the SDMP, and Local Disaster Adaptation Plans, DAP, and these will include actions relating to a range of natural hazards, including heat waves, and can identify place-based adaptation actions specifically for addressing the impact of the heat as a growing risk. The New South Wales Reconstruction Authority is working to ensure councils have the skills and capacity to embed climate change considerations in their own plans and to implement actions identified in disaster adaptation plans. As a member of the committee, I wish to thank all of my colleagues and the Secretariat who worked on this report in the course of the inquiry. We heard evidence from a wide cross-section of the community across the state concerned about the implications of climate change on our environment and land use. It is now widely accepted that extreme floods, dangerous fire, weather and heat waves are predicted to increase in duration, magnitude and frequency. We are seeing this more and more across our communities. As an example, the report included a case study about the proposed Wombrel Beach seawall. The committee visited the proposed seawall site along with volunteers from Wombrel Save Our Sands, a local advocacy group opposed to the seawall, including Mr Mark Lamont, Miss Corinne Lamont and Mr Justin Hickey. The proposed site includes privately owned land, government-owned land and council land. The case study notes, and I quote, "One of the seawall proposals put forward is by local residents group Wombrel Protection Association in partnership with Central Coast Council for a 1.3 kilometre long, 3 metre high vertical concrete structure, which is opposed by the majority of the local community. As the government spokesperson for the electorate of Terrigal, this issue is of particular interest to me. I know firsthand from my interactions with the community, as well as through advocacy from the local federal MP Gordon Reid and local advocate Sam Broughton, that the seawall is a major local issue. I note since the report was released, the Premier announced at the Central Coast Community Cabinet that the government will not give landowners consent for the seawall. I have also run a petition against the seawall. This report overall has contributed to a better understanding of the climate-related challenges we face and the measures we must continue to take to keep our communities as safe as possible. I thank the Minister for Planning and Public Spaces and the government for the constructive way the committee recommendations have been considered in its formal response.